Hi, everybody. Welcome to our happy hour. So excited to have you, and we can talk all things life and fundraising, and so excited to see you today. Hello, everybody, and welcome. Today's question, Ashley and I were just debating about today's question. Favorite ice cream flavor or frozen treat? Favorite ice cream flavor or frozen treat? Ice cream sandwich? Is it the rainbow sherbet of my youth? What is your frozen treat? Hi, Trina. Welcome, everyone. Hey, Travis. What is your favorite ice cream flavor? Your favorite frozen treat? What is it that makes you happy? Okay, Ashley says a mint chocolate chip. Trina says a frozen margarita. Oh my God, Kevin, you are literally eating Chunky Monkey right now. I love that. I just recently bought classic ice cream sandwiches. Like, I don't eat chocolate, but that little wafer thing on the ice cream sandwich is not really chocolate. So Stephanie says coffee ice cream. We got another vote for mint chocolate chip. That was always my brother's. Okay, Catherine says any flavors of Jenny's Splendid ice cream. I send Jenny's as a gift, Catherine, to people far and wide, and love Jenny's. My favorite flavor of Jenny's is gooey butter cake. Again, I'm not a chocolate person, so gooey butter cake. And if I have to go ice cream, I would say probably like dulce de leche. Okay, Kevin says creamsicles or fudge pops. Okay, Macy says vanilla custard with Oreos and cookie dough. Yeah, you guys love your custard. Jennifer loves a Magnum ice cream bar. Y'all, I love two things that we probably haven't thought about in a while. Number one, a Blizzard. So on Island, we have a Dairy Queen. I haven't yet been, but I have a hankering for a Blizzard. And then old school rainbow sherbet. I mean, the 1970s plastic containered rainbow sherbet. I could deal with that. You know, all the fancy people eat gelato on Island and sorbet, but I would love just some good old-fashioned rainbow sherbet every now and again. So welcome. We're talking all things ice cream today. No, just kidding. We're going to talk fundraising. Okay, in Canada, got some butterscotch. Got to vote for butterscotch. My dad's is butter pecan, as he calls it, butter pecan. Okay, a double chocolate cookie crunch with sprinkles. Well, I mean, life isn't meant to be lived without sprinkles, so I'm glad to hear about the sprinkles, and so love that. Melanie says she loves a classic vanilla, an Outshine fruit and vegetable popsicle, or a traditional classic Klondike bar. Oh, I remember those as a kid. Like that was, Dad is butter pecan. My dad loves ice cream. Like he could really eat ice cream all the time. I'm an every once in a while ice cream person. So, you know, Outshine lime bars. What are these Outshine things? I feel like I'm not in on the cool kids train, because Ashley, her kid is so cool, and I can't believe that he's also 7, because he was just like 3 last year, wasn't he? Or am I getting super old super fast? I'm just not sure. So we're talking all things fundraising, what's going on in your world. For those of you in the States, I know what's going on in your world. Excuse me. Okay, so Outshine bars. Apparently I need to Google these Outshine bars and see if I can have them in our grocery stores here on Island. I'm not sure. Melissa is all chocolate chip cookie dough. I would eat the cookie dough just raw. So, okay. Okay, look, everybody's posting links. to outshine. Okay, Kevin says we're going back in the office part-time next week. So a lot of people were going back in the office, and then that kind of got upended thanks to Delta, not the airline, the COVID vaccine, the virus variant. I can you imagine being a director of brand marketing for Corona and Delta, and the kind of crap year and a half or last 6 months that those two people have had? Like, thank God you're not running their social media and stuff, right? I mean, just you can't make that up. Okay, Bobby went back into the office yesterday. Some of my people are going back in the office. Some of my people have been back in the office. Some people are upending their plans. Some people are canceling events. Again, yeah, exactly, Nicole, right? So how was your first day, Bobby? And Kevin, what are you looking forward to, or what are you not looking forward to in terms of in person? So would love to hear. Macy says, we're sending endowment reports, have 30 with no donors. We don't have anyone designated. Any issues are reaching out with their children? No, Macy, we usually do a one-time kind of reach out to the heir, to the original donor, but we really don't kind of hurt ourselves to try to get that done. So I would say one good outreach, and then always include a survey to make sure that they want to keep receiving that in the future. So, but yeah, I wouldn't, kind of overextend myself. Just do something reasonable. So yeah. Kevin says he's looking forward to meeting some of his coworkers. I know, right? So some of our donors, yes, Sharon, it's a very good guideline that children cannot modify the use of the fund. So we just do reporting to them. So that's really good to keep in mind. Some of us haven't even met some of our coworkers in person, so I can see that there's the whole awkwardness about the wearing the mask, the not wearing the mask, all that good stuff. But I think, unfortunately, or I don't know what the word is, but this fall is going to continue to be as tumultuous, if not more, than we were before. It's just, I don't know, my parents are back, they never left being super cautious, but they're being very, very cautious there in Georgia. And so, yeah, just very interesting. Macy says that's exactly what we were concerned about with their endowment reports. Did you just state firmly to receive the report? I think, Macy, I really wouldn't put a ton of effort into stating it. I think it's if they ask questions, then you can have talking points ready, talking about the only people that can make adjustments to endowed funds are the original signers, and so that's something. Just have talking points ready. I wouldn't, preemptively be like, and you don't get to do anything. I would just be, mindful of that. So Bobby says they're easing their transition by they had an outside gathering to meet some of their new coworkers. Kevin, does that need to be in the agreement? No, it's actually law. So the law says that if you didn't sign the original agreement, you can't make changes to it unless you signed it. So that's actually legal. That's the law in the States anyway. If you didn't sign the original agreement outlining you would have to specify in your original gift agreement, I, Lynn Wester, hereby give Kevin Berry permission at any time to modify the purpose, or you would have to sign it in like that. so that's what you would have to do, Kevin. It's naturally built into any agreement that an outside party can't modify the agreement. So, yep. That's these are all great questions. Monique, you are planning a giving day in September. Don't say yikes. Any words of advice to share? I'm excited for you. I would say make sure that if you're going to use matches and incentives, that they're around the behavior that you want to have. So maybe you have a match for first-time donors, or monthly donors, or recurring donors. Also that you have your donor relations and stewardship plan already taken care of, Monique. So do you have your ThankView account up and running so you can record custom videos to folks that day? Let's see. Making sure that you're thanking those donors digitally. They receive their receipt digitally. Again, a giving day is really a all digital wonderful thing for you to do, but make sure that you have your ducks in a row when it comes to follow-up. Hey, Sarah, how are you? Good to see you, Sarah the Whiz up there in Minneapolis and St. Paul. The other thing I would say is make sure that you have a follow-up plan for your donors who were acquired through your giving day. If they were acquired through your giving day, you don't want to throw them back into your regular solicitation channels. You kind of want to keep them separate. So make sure you have a plan for them. So just something to think about. Just something for you to kind of noodle on there. We actually have a giving day course. I'm sure Ashley will post a link to that for you. But there's also some great content out there from Giving Tuesday, even though theirs is geared towards Giving Tuesday itself. That's November 30th this year, I believe, if I'm a remembering person correctly. And they have great content on tips and tricks for your giving day, even if it's not Giving Tuesday, and it's all free. So get out there and get yourself some free content. I love free content. I was nerding out today on a report about friction in online giving sites and how to reduce friction in your online giving sites. So I love those kinds of studies that show, if you do this one change, this is what you get out of it. So I really enjoy nerding out on that data. Oh, Sarah, you make my heart swell. I miss you, and I hope we can get together, and I can't wait to talk to you about your fabulous new job in the arts sector. You're so cool. So I want to be you when I grow up. And I mean that. We had a question about survey or forms. Eva, it usually most people use whatever their organization has for free, whether it's Qualtrics or FormStack, I know is something that a lot of people love. At ThankView, they love JotForm. Now with everybody getting on the Teams train, there are Teams forms. I know a lot of us are using that. I create a lot of SurveyMonkey forms. It just depends on, the form software is 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. I tend to say, what do you have access to that is free or affordable, that doesn't cost you an arm and a leg, that's still survey taker friendly? So something that I'd be thinking about, right, is it friendly for your end user? That's really, and how do you get the data out of those forms? How does it feed into what you need? So I appreciate you being thoughtful about that. And, sometimes it boils down to personal preference or what works with your, platforms. And so, yeah, that is a problem with proprietary, like Microsoft Teams and others. I use SurveyMonkey because it's cheap and affordable. And so, yeah, very simple. Melanie, our city community foundation does an annual give day where hundreds of nonprofits can be recipients of gifts. The minimum is $25, and you can choose the charities you want to support. They shattered records yesterday. Yay! Our goal was 100 donors or $20,000. We received gifts from 141 donors and close to $25,000, which doubles the donor count from 2 years ago and almost doubles the amount. We had planned an email campaign starting 2 weeks out. Wow, it looks like you had some amazing success. It also, I will tell you, people are continuing to be generous. We're continuing to see the generosity that we saw at the height of the pandemic continue, because for some communities it's worse than it was at the height of the pandemic pre-vaccine. I am from, I previously lived in Austin, Texas. It's hard to know where to say where I'm from anymore. I don't know. I'm from the internet. I feel like I'm from the future. Austin, Texas is really suffering right now. My friends in Baton Rouge, Louisiana are really suffering. There's so many communities that are really, really suffering. And I live in the cloud, Kevin, and sometimes I am perfectly grounded. My feet slip right off the ground. So Gannon, great job. If you have a question there that you may not have been able to get to in that long post, let me know. I'm happy to help you with it. So Bailey Daly says, what are your thoughts on how to best steward those who give via roundup donations? Example would be asking a customer to donate to a fund when checking out. Do we steward them separately? Yeah, Bailey, those are kind of point of purchase donations, kind of like asking people who buy a bracelet or any other kind of what I would call spontaneous donation. I love that you're getting their donor information. I think so many nonprofits would not be able to receive the donor's contact information. So, those are people that do things on impulse. And my dad might even say those are just good souls. It's interesting for me as a professional fundraiser when I'm asked at the checkout or the people are sitting outside, kind of doing a campaign. It strikes me as so different than I think it does other people, because of course I'm like, well, you haven't got my contact information, and what are you going to do? And I go into immediate fundraiser mode. But I would think that not only would you steward them differently, you would also think about your resolicitation of them differently. So when we think about stewardship of them, I would think it would be really cool. Or you could do something very cute around, it only took a second and you changed a life. So in an instant, you made a difference, something along those lines. Really hearkening or acknowledging the fact that how they gave. Again, the more personalization, the better when it comes to our donors. So, I think you could do some really, really cute things there. And then I think resoliciting them would be something along the lines of, you made your first donation kind of in the blink of the eye, or now make it a habit. And I would try to turn them into monthly donors, because, instead of it being a spark of inspiration, what about being, sustaining our organization? So go from one click or one checkout to being a partner with us year round. I think that would be really powerful messaging. I love Sharon. She says, check out what you did at the checkout. I think there's just so many different ways you can go there. I would keep the stream probably primarily digital with them, but I'd be pushing for recurring gifts with that population and see if you could go from a one-click or a one-time inspiration into a year of sustainability. That would be a really cool idea and something that I think would probably catch a lot of inspiration with your donors. So I really like that idea, Bailey. And again, I love that you're getting all of their contact information. The other, if you have their cell phone numbers, this group would be ripe for a text campaign. So, you know what I mean? Thanks for rounding up your gift. We really appreciate it. Here's how much money we were able to raise last week in the Piggly Wiggly, because that's what I grew up with, the Piggly Wiggly and the IGA, because I'm Southern. Now it's all like Publix and Harris Teeter. But and then they would be great for click here and make a gift on their phone. So hopefully you have that kind of capability. If not, then just something to strive for, something to stretch for. I think not enough of us are leaning in yet. I know we're organizations that are still coping with, giving on your mobile device I don't think enough of us are leaning in yet to text gratitude, text campaigns. So something to think about there. Yeah, Kevin, great minds think alike. The other thing could be, you could also use that for a challenge campaign, for for employees and staff of that location. So yeah. Oh, Ashley, hi. How are things at your healthcare center? I've been thinking about you. You buy a new Piggly Wiggly hat every year. Hey, don't knock a Piggly Wiggly hat, y'all. Don't knock one. Piggly Wiggly, man. Yeah, Angie, thanks so much. I am pushing text thank you. I think that we don't lean into it enough yet. I think that individually there are probably people texting thank yous, but as a system, using it as a channel, I think we're still quote unquote scared of text messaging. I think that we're still hesitant to use text as a channel. And I think there's so much good that can come out of it. And again, all you have to do is say stop if you don't want it. So, I just think we're underutilizing that as a channel. So it's not for everybody. And yes, there are some people. Yeah, it does, so we also use text to promote our campaign finale. It scared some alums. What were they afraid of, Kevin, that you knew who they were and where they were? A lot of people feel like it's invasive, and then there are other people that don't. I don't know. I guess it just depends on culture and people and all of that. So, Clay, a number of platforms are now offering text video. You record a video in the donor's record in the CRM, and then it texts it to them. Yes, ThankView does that as well as others. And donors do love that idea, that one-to-one relationship. So Angie says, do you think it looks better to come from the org? Yeah, that would be ideal, is if it's tied to the org. Rather than the individual. That's the ask. So Gloria, hi Gloria, says, do I think it's generational? And then Sharon, of course, says maybe it's generational. I honestly try not to use generation as a stereotype and Gloria will laugh at this when I'm like, okay, if we said that about any other group, if we were like, if we were to say, oh, well, Irish people, they don't do texting, like it would sound Irish racist, right? And so I try not to stereotype generations because my parents are 85. I don't know how they would react if they got a text from a nonprofit. I'm going to ask them. I'm going to do some industry research here. I think it's the comfort level with text. So I don't necessarily think it's generational. So there are people of different generations that either use text a lot or don't use text a lot, right? I've had a completely new experience with my device since I've lived overseas in the Caribbean. because I use WhatsApp, which is everywhere is Wi-Fi here, a lot like international is. I can tell you that my parents would love a text way more than a phone call. So I'm with you there, Kevin. Don't call my parents, text them, So one of our users says we've seen no difference between generations and responses to text. Yeah, I don't think it's, me, Gloria, I don't think it's fair to put it on a generation as it more as a user. So yeah, WhatsApp is how we do everything. Like if I want to order a cake, I order it on WhatsApp. I don't even use a website. Like and everywhere you go here, people don't pay for data. So it's, what's your Wi-Fi? Like when people come over to my house, I have the Wi-Fi written out and people like get onto the Wi-Fi right away. And so you're right, Travis, about grandparents. So I don't think it's generation. I think it's comfort level. And I think it reminds me of the, okay, so Sharon says her cell phone feels private to her. And Sharon is a person who has her cell phone I've had the same number for 20 something years. And yes, I am in the Cayman Islands, Angie. Yep. And as a person who has her number on the internet, I feel like it's public domain at this point because I don't have another phone. So I guess it all depends, right, on how you view those things. But here's the thing I do know. Everybody is entitled to feel however they feel about text messages. Everyone is entitled to feel how they feel about email messages, about mailed messages, things sent in the mail. So it's totally up to you and your donor base. But I think there are people that would love to receive a text from a nonprofit. And no matter how your audience feels, they're entitled to feel that way. So I don't want phone calls. I don't. And I feel that it's invasive and it's disrespectful to my time. And I get really, like, if my phone rings from a number that I don't know, I don't answer it, like, unless Shannon has scheduled something for me because she's in charge of my life. But to me, knowing my home address feels more invasive than my cell phone number. You know what I mean? Like, it's just the way I've lived my life. Now I've just become way more text and WhatsApp centered than when I lived even a year and a half ago in the States. It's just weird, right? So again, I think the point I want to make here is well, and we can't even get mail. Like we have a very weak postal service here. So it's a long story, Kevin. I would explain it to you, but nobody wants to know about the postal service here. But like once a month I ship over my mail in, you're going to love this, in a UPS overnight. And it has a declaration so that they can't open it because customs opens every package that comes over otherwise. And then you have to pay duty on it that they send to you. So this ensures that they don't open it. So it's kind of like they can't open documents that legally they have no right to. So you can send me cards and stuff, but it's a long story. Anywho, all that to say is I think just like anything in fundraising, we can't make generalizations about any group. Right? Like, well, young people like this, or, older generations like this. I think it goes back to, we can all receive the same exact communication and have completely different reactions to it. And all of those reactions are valid and are welcomed. And that's our job as fundraisers, as scientists, as people who study our work, to figure out what works best for our population. And I think it gets more and more complex, and it also ebbs and flows. I may not be answering my email. I feel like Friday afternoon is the dead zone for emails some days. I don't know about you all, but I feel like everybody's trying to get in their last vacation before their kids go back to school. And last Friday afternoon, I was like, is my email broken? Like and people they were just out of the office. So, it's just really really funny. But those are all really great questions. I just think as a profession, we need to embrace that more. You know, new and interesting ways to communicate, and also understand that there are personal preferences all over the place. And so sometimes they're landmines, sometimes they're not. Again, the worst thing that happens in our world is when we make a mistake, all we have to do is apologize. And the lovely thing about it is people give a lot of grace to charities. So the bandwidth to apologize, the room for us to do so is wide. And when we do, as long as we're sincere when we make a mistake, you know, I really think we have an opportunity there to make a connection. So yeah. What other fundraising, donor relations, events, communication stuff is going on in your world? What are the decisions you're making here this Wednesday, August 11th? Hey, Laura, how are things in the Pacific Northwest? I hope everything is well for you. Would love to hear any questions, thoughts, whatever you guys have going on. So Kevin is in Los Angeles, so Southern California. And when did you make the decision, Kevin, to go all virtual for your events in the fall? And for your scholarship lunch in February? Karen says they're canceling their golf tournaments. Yeah, I'm seeing ripples of that going on. Okay, last Wednesday. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So you guys, I'm gonna switch over to my Hotmail here. I'm 43, so I have a Hotmail. And I think that you will find it interesting. I received an email from a university that will remain unnamed because it's not fair to pick on them publicly unless they really deserve it, and they don't deserve it. But I received an email from them inviting me to a Rangers game. The Rangers are the professional baseball team in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. First of all, I would never go to, well, regardless, at the end of the email, it's like this big, beautiful invitation, and then it says asterisk, and you know what's coming, like the asterisk is here, right? And it says, by attending, you're acknowledging an inherent risk of exposure to COVID-19. It says, including at this event. Unvaccinated individuals are strongly encouraged to continue social distancing from others and wearing a face covering while inside or outdoors. Our highest priority is the health, safety, and well-being of our alumni and friends, as well as your respective communities. And I was like, but if that's your number one, then maybe we should reschedule this event. So, but like they have the asterisk, and then they're like, you could, like, here's our legal statement, basically. And so I was like, whoa, like that just felt a little icky. Yeah, it was just, you know, and then I've gotten invitations in the last week with no warning, no anything. So it's all over the place, and it's really difficult for everyone. So I'm just giving everybody a lot of grace in these decision making. It is, you know, we as event planners hate uncertainty, and we're just dealing with uncertainty all over the place. So first of all, I love to see that other people still have a Hotmail. Look, my Hotmail is my alternate email address, and I love it, and I'm never getting rid of it, and it is. So Noelle says they're still in person for events, some outside events. Laura says they're doing some outside events and virtual for things that can't. Yeah, if the event is heavy, we're holding it virtual to increase access. So Jen, hey Jen, we're struggling with events. Yeah, I think a lot of us are. Universities moving forward with in-person events for the fall, but just reinstituted mask wearing. So it'll be interesting to see. I think that I think that it's hard in one breath for me to swallow a statement that says our number one priority is your health, but hey, let's go to a baseball game. Oh, and by the way, here's our legal statement to get out of it. So that kind of felt oogie. That's a technical term from a consultant, Oogie. I think that you have to also give yourself grace. If you are on the event train this fall, and a lot of us are back on the event train, you have to expect lowered attendance, depending on whether you're masking, you're not masking, da, da, da. Also, I think we need to have a lot of grace for our teammates and our employees. Someone who I adore dearly came to me, and she had gone to her supervisor because they're right now a little full board ahead with football and the suites and everything. And she has young children at home that can't be vaccinated, even though she is vaccinated. And her supervisor said, under no uncertain terms are we wanting to put you and your family in danger. So we're not going to force you to host the suite. And so, you know what I mean? Like, we want you to feel comfortable as an employee, that we value our employees and their safety. So she's just worried about bringing it home to her family and to her children that are unvaccinated. And I totally agree with that. So I think we have to give a lot of grace to our attendees, to the event planners, but also to staff who may or may not feel comfortable working these events. So make sure you're doing a gut check. Make sure you're doing an okay check with your folks who may be smiling and they may be back in the office because they trust you and the people around them, but they may not trust the strangers. They may not trust being in an environment with a lot of people. So let's make sure that we give grace also to those people who are concerned, or who, like, let's just give grace because there's people on all sides of the spectrum. And so the way everybody feels is valid. And so we need to acknowledge that. So acknowledge that. And remember, folks, that event attendees make up 20% of our population. So if you invite 1,000 people and you get 200, that's a good show. That means that you've got a good yield. What are you doing for the 80% of people who want to engage with you, but who don't come to events? That was a challenge pre-COVID, during COVID, now COVID. Like, I don't know what to call this, the COVID resurgence. Like, I think for a lot of us in June and July, we were like, okay, we're coming out of COVID. Like, I even did a webinar series coming out of COVID. I want to smack myself with a brush for titling it that, but I guess maybe eventually we'll come out of COVID, but just having grace for all of those places. So remember, it's not just about the people who attend your event. It's about, the people who don't attend your event that want to engage. So virtual's still there. It's still powerful. People can still feel good. Again, you have to, Angie, you're cracking up. A paddle brush is what I'm thinking of. That's what I use for my hair. So remember about the 80% of people, right? So remember that as well. And remember to check in on your people. Their feelings may have changed a lot. A lot of places were raring up, good to go. And then we're feeling very different now. So one of our users says, I'm struggling with annual giving, not only with donor fatigue from the past 18 months, but how to plan messaging for fall and year-end solicitations with so much uncertainty. So this is where I think we need to lean in and strengthen our adaptability muscles. But also, here's what I feel for you about annual giving. Okay, come down a little journey with me. Remember, your cause is still important. Your mission, the reason that you get up every day, the why you're fundraising for is still important. COVID be damned, no COVID optional. I feel like that's like a clothing thing, COVID optional. It's still valid and important, right? And so the thing you need to remember about annual giving in times of upheaval is that you are the steady ship in the storm. People look to nonprofits as places of hope. People leaned into giving last year like never before. And so you need to give them a reason to believe? What are we doing? How are we riding out the storm? And you know what? Be vulnerable. Acknowledge, look, this sucks. And that is my eloquent way of saying, during unprecedented, like, do we get a doubly unprecedented time? I don't know. But here's what we do know, that our mission still remains, that people still need our help, that there are generous souls out there that want to make a difference and help. And so our job is to facilitate that magic. Our job is to match people's philanthropic passion, their generosity, with a place to give. So also what I want you to do is, these past 18, 16, however many months you're counting, I mean, last April felt like 2.5 years, they're grating on us. And a lot of us are crispy. We're like KFC, we're crispy fried, and we've been putting up with uncertainty for so long, we don't wanna anymore. I don't wanna. So take a break. What compassionate thing have you done for yourself lately? What have you done to steward your self-care? If you're falling flat with your messaging, hire someone else to do it. Bring in someone from the outside that can give you a refresh. My friend Clay and I write for people all the time who just can't come up with something. And so we come in and help them. So it's not a weakness to ask for help. This is something I'm learning. My therapist would be so proud of me right now for saying that. But also, what have you done to be kind and compassionate to yourself? So remember, your cause is important and your donors need you in order to be really, really powerful. And if part of your self-care and compassion is taking a break, take that break, even if it's inconvenient for your operation, even if you think I can't, or, I can't possibly take time off, where you need to do some self-care, because you will come back refreshed. And whatever your self-care is, hun, I'm here for it. It could be watching Love Island. It could be, not that I watched that this morning when I couldn't go back to sleep at 5 a.m. and thought this is quality time with myself, or other things. So get out there and reinvigorate yourself as well. What are good stewardship things in a suite? You're part of the team filling suites at the old Texas Rangers Stadium. I don't think about things, I think about experiences. Who can stop by the suite and visit? What are those ballpark experiences that people can have? Y'all, I probably have said this a million times, but in more recent times, non-COVID, I would take my parents to a South Carolina football game every year. We will not be going this fall, don't worry. But my dad loves that they have free hot dogs. Now, my dad can afford his own hot dog, I promise. Like, he's not on Skid Row or anything. But my mom doesn't allow him to eat hot dogs very often, if you know, because they're 85 and they're trying to live. My dad's goal is to live to 150 so he can torture me for the next phase of my life, another 70 years, which I've told him is not happening, but that's okay. And so he loves that up in the South Carolina suite, he gets free hot dogs. So he has 2 of them, and he gets a Diet Coke, which also he's not allowed to have much of. And it's those experiences. It's cracking open fresh peanuts. It's the smell of fresh popcorns. It's who stops by, right? It's making sure, it's those little experiential things. So that's what I think about. See, Travis is like, the boys still talk about that. So I brought Travis's 2 sons and my friend Jenny to a game. They got to go down on the field. I still have the photos, and they got to go up and eat the hot dogs and have all that fun too. So, good times. So, yeah. Good times. So yeah. Let's see. Trisha, we're planning to host an outdoor reception for members of the Loyalty Society. Yay, loyal giving. Yay. How should we decide by geography which donors should be invited to this in-person event? Do we use a cutoff of an hour drive? I would say an hour is comfortable depending on where you are in the world. When I lived in New York City, people wouldn't go from Manhattan to Brooklyn. So you got to know your area, right? Like my friend Angie lives in Davis, California, and she says they have to do events in Sacramento, even though it's like 20 minutes away. So know your area, know where people will and won't travel to. Again, I think if it's a special opportunity, I would drive a little bit further. So you have to think about that. And so just something to think about. Also, you want to make sure that if they are going to drive a little bit of a way, that you have reasonable hours for them to leave. Maybe you put a nice cold bottle of water in their vehicle if they're leaving. All those little touches add up to a much more pleasant experience. I remember fondly when I used to travel, period. And then I would stay at a place in Hawaii on Waikiki Beach. And that place really earned my loyalty because even though I was in Hawaii, I was working. I have lovely clients at Punahou and Hawaii Pacific and the University of Hawaii. I got clients on Hawaii so I could go to Hawaii, by the way. So it's not a coincidence. And I used to go once every quarter, and I started staying at a hotel to where when they would bring around my rental car, the windows were down, the air condition was cranked to try to get the cool air going. And every single time I would go, because they know I was going for work, because I was not dressed like I was going to the beach, I was dressed for work, they would always say to me, can we get you a cold bottle of water? Or there'd be one waiting in the cup holder when I would get my car from valet. And it's hot and I was dressed up, and so I didn't want to sweat. And those little touches meant the world for me. It was always one of the reasons that I enjoyed getting my car as opposed to not getting in my car, where, they just really thought about what was going to be my experience once I got into the car. And I just really appreciated that. Also, when I would come back, sometimes I would come back with food that I'd grabbed and gotten. They'd be like, let me grab this for you so you can get in and out of the car easily. They would throw away trash in the car, like a straw wrapper, not that was ever there, or a leftover spoon from Shave Ice or something. They just treated the car and treated me and it was just simple, and it didn't cost them a lot, but man, that cold water on a Hawaiian morning. And even when I would come back at the end of the day at 4 or 5 o'clock, I would come back and they'd say, do you need the car anymore, Miss Wester? And I'd say, no, I'm in for the night. I'm going to grab some food. Well, why don't you take a cold bottle of water up to your room with you? Man, they were giving away that water, and I was there for it. And it was also yummy, yummy water. So as a water drinker, when water is yummy. So it's the little things in life, right? So Becca, hi Becca, I noticed in a recent email, DRG recommends sending scholarship impact reports soon after decisions are made. I'd love to know what email that was that we recommended that. Maybe in a blog post? Many of ours are awarded in the spring and summer prior to the academic year, but we wait until after the academic year. It takes us many attempts to get students to provide thank yous, and many still don't. We also want to ensure we don't send reports to students who withdraw or transfer, and sometimes financial aid is still awarding scholarships at the very end of the academic year. I'm trying to catch the rest of your comment there, Becca. So I think what we said is that we usually wait until the 10 or 15 day drop ad period, and then we start reaching out to students. We don't ask them for thank you letters because that's not diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's part of the power dynamic challenges. We have them fill out forms and we talk to them about impact. So I think I'd be happy to walk you through it. and talk about our process that we recommend, but we don't recommend having students write letters, that's for sure. And I think if you do gratitude programming, like we teach attitude of gratitude and some other things, but yeah, we want to get that student impact to donors. We don't wait and report on it after the year is over, because then they don't have an opportunity to build a relationship. So for example, I have an endowed scholarship at my alma mater, and if I found out about my student recipient after the year was over and she left campus, that doesn't help me at all. I have no opportunity to build a relationship with her. So maybe it's you split it, that you tell the donor their name and try to get them some simple facts in the fall, and then move it. It's just, you have to figure out what works for your donors and your process, but our goal is to demonstrate impact, not deliver gratitude, right? So, and you know, that's why we wait until the 10-day or 15-day, because that's the drop ad period. So again, I'd be happy to chat with you through that. I'd also say that if it's taking you many attempts, then maybe we need to reanalyze our power dynamic and our communications with our students. Ashley and the team and I have been working on a DE&I series focused for this fall. She just got me the draft of the website, and so I'm gonna be talking about those issues and more, diversity, equity, and inclusion issues in a webinar series this fall that hopefully you'll join us, but that also addresses the power dynamic issues there. So yeah. Leslie, is anyone using augmented reality? I am. I've used augmented reality. It's fantastic. We did, if you don't know what augmented reality is, for those of you that don't know, it is a print piece that when you hover your phone over it, it creates video or leads you to a website. So kind of like augmented reality is like a hidden QR code, basically. We did that at LSU for the campaign launch. It was hugely successful, and the student we had a student built it out as part of their class brochure. I mean, they're not class brochure, their class project. I was reading your brochure question. There are vendors out there that do that. And so I'd be happy to talk you through the process, when to do augmented reality, when to not. But it can be a very successful. I even know people that have done augmented reality in their solicitations before. So yeah, happy to talk to you through that. It's not as expensive, you know, kind of like all technologies, it's not as expensive as it used to be, right? It's not the $1,400 VCR anymore. Okay, Macy says, test augmented reality on your phone by purchasing a 19 Crimes wine. So you're encouraging us to buy wine. I'm here for you. It'll give you an idea, and it's wine. Hey, yeah, good idea. So Becca and Connie, you'd like to chat impact reports. I've had a presentation on Otter. Yeah. So you can email us. Ashley, will you post our info at Donor Relations Guru email? And we will set up a call for you to talk to one of our experts on impact reporting. You know, we outsource everything in a donor relations shop. So right now I'm actually filling in for a donor relations director and rebuilding a shop somewhere that'll remain unnamed, but I've done it multiple times. We have shops outsourcing endowment reports and acknowledgement letters to us, and impact reporting. And so we'd love to help you. Ashley, if you could also post the website, ThankView, the Otter website on ThankView. I think it's ThankView/Otter. We can give you information. It really does help you get your reporting process aligned, and or it's thankview.com/endowment report. There you go. So happy to help you do that and walk you through the process. So just let us know how we can help you in any way. But augmented reality, I feel like it makes the page, think of it as a pop-up book come to life. So I love that. So Katie asked a really good question in our last few minutes here that I want to cover. In messaging, do you think we're beyond these times or different? Oh, Katie, we're so beyond these times or different. We're so beyond the great pivot. We're so beyond unprecedented times. I think we have to acknowledge that the pandemic continues. I think if we don't, then we are ignoring the impact that it has had on our world. But I don't think we have to drone on about it, Katie. So I think there's a balance between acknowledging the pandemic and ignoring the pandemic. And so I think we have to think about that we are the hope. So Kevin just paraphrased what I was going to say. We want to accentuate the positive and how we're moving forward. Yes, like the pandemic here is here and it may be here to stay. But that we, the nonprofits, we provide hope for the future. And we are that kind of shining light for others. And so I want you to stay in positive mode, in positive gear, but it would be tone deaf to completely ignore it. Because there are people that say that the pandemic is over, but we know that that's not necessarily our reality. So this is really, I love these discussions. I love these lives because it brings together people from all over, and we really do have conversations about, that, remember that term grace, right? We need to be grace filled. We need to think about our environments and what we can do for each other. But we also have to acknowledge that there is pain and that there is a pandemic out there, because there are people facing it every single day, whether in small ways or large. Again, everybody's got a different boat in the storm. So speaking of boats, I don't know if there are any boats out there, but I always promise to give you guys the view, the daily view. So it's a good sunny one today. My bird friend is here. The water is nice and calm. We had some storms earlier this week, some good thunder boomers. And so you can see the backyard, see the coast, and take a little walk, have your moment of zen today, out there to the sea, to the Atlantic, to the Caribbean, and have your moment of zen, and know how, no, there's not anyone there, Betsy, because it's private. It's super private. So that's on purpose. I'm glad not to have people, although the guys were just out there. Always here for you all. Reach out anytime, info@Donor Relations Guru. Reach out on our social media channels. We are happy to have you all, and very grateful for each and every one of you who join us. And so it makes me happy too, Katie, that I'm here, and I will talk to you all soon. Thanks, Shannon. It was great to see faces new and old, and please feel free to reach out and we will talk soon. Thank you, everyone.